I mean, how do I describe it? It's
Bold.
A light.
Black.
unapologetically black.
Very funny, amusing.
Caring.
You give great advice from a different perspective. Passionate.
Free.
Vulnerable.
A creative.
Sexy.
My girl is lit as fuck.
Always ready to twerk a little something.
Genuine, very genuine.
Resilient.
Like sixth sense, otherworldly. If you know, you know.
It's so vibrant, baby. Hello, everyone, and welcome to So Vibrant, the place where music, history, and culture collide. I am your cultural storyteller and award-winning host, Lady AC. So, before we begin, just want to give you guys a heads up. If you hear the lawnmowers and all these different kind of sounds going on in the background, it is that season. It has been raining a lot and things are growing up and all that. So if you hear that, I just want to let you know that's what's going on. But regardless, I'm still going to give you a good quality show. So just want to preference that if you hear it throughout the episode. But diving into today's topic. So at the beginning of the month, I did an episode called The Check-In where, basically I just asked you, my listeners, or anybody under my voice, how you doing? And really just how to navigate the different ways or different spaces that we all could be in. And in doing that episode, I realized I didn't check in myself with y'all. Like, I didn't do the reciprocity of showing, how I was feeling and going and doing that. And so that inspired, especially last week's episode, where I talked about what was going on externally, what I was seeing, what I was feeling, and really kind of putting that into focus and maybe in a way that could help other people to put what they are going through into focus. So I felt that would be important to kind of continue that and talk about what I'm going through internally. To be fully honest and transparent with you all, everything I have healed from, worked through, navigated within myself has always led me back to love. And I know it's being used to kind of open up my mind to different possibilities and open my heart, keeping my heart open really, to receiving love and wanting love. And it's gotten to the point where it's created, honestly, this yearning that only intensifies as I continue down this road. It reminded me of an episode that I did back in season 2 called Decolonize Your Love. Basically, born out of just my frustration with the clickbait, trendy, regurgitated topics of love and relationships at that time. And I honestly just felt like it was just a bunch of hurt people talking to more hurt people to create a larger community of hurt people, and honestly push us further and further away from actually achieving the love that all of us secretly really just want. And so as a result of that, I created questions and began a conversation about, what are the things we should be asking when it came to love and intimacy and connection to further the conversation and the work of people like Bell Hooks, like James Baldwin, like Maya Angelou, like Toni Morrison, like Paul Laurence Dunbar, like all these different artists and theorists and major teachers in academics, rather, that talked openly about how powerful love is and how needed it is in this world. I mean, there are countless musicians, all these love songs and the power of love and the unity of love and just really showing how essential it is to our lives. But unfortunately, a lot of us are led to believe that it's literally just a feeling. So after the musical break, we'll dive right on in this message of love. All right, be right back.
ask me how to know if love is real. As simple as the things he says to you. Remembering your birthday, your favorite flowers at your door. One thing you should know is actions speak louder than words. You talk to me in the language of love. I hear the things you say to me in the language of love. He told you that he loved you. That's easy to say. When the hard times come, will he be there for you? Might be impossible to know right now, so you gotta take your time. In the meantime, watch your actions, 'cause they speak louder than words. Ooh.
And that was Frank Simmons III featuring Conya Doss with Language of Love. I love that song right there, especially because it is the perfect song to segue into our topic of the day, because we are talking about love today, y'all. Honestly, just being vulnerable about my own journey, where I'm at with creating a love life. And as a result of that, I found myself really reconnecting with things that I love to do. A lot of old hobbies, a lot of old interests that I used to do, especially when I was a kid or when I was younger, or I didn't have as much of responsibilities or let life kind of distract me from it. I saw myself kind of gravitating back to doing those things a lot. And one of those things has been this love of reading. Like, I am definitely back into my reading bag right now. And ironically, a lot of the books I'm reading now are romances. But what kicked off this reading journey was, I have to attribute that to the amazing Bell Hooks and her book, All About Love, where she really goes into detail and research and looks at love from not only a personal view, but an academic view, a social view, in many different ways. Like everything else, there is a bigger issue at play with a lot of the different concepts, aspects that we engage with. But what my focus has been, especially with this season, is really focusing on the things that we can control. So what can we control when it comes to love? And that led me to 3 different aspects to talk about today. The first one being the concept of unconditional love. I always felt that in order to get love, you have to meet some kind of condition. Like there's no way that it can be unconditional fully. Because on some level, you have to meet a person's standard. You have to meet their requirements. Or the truth is, you don't have to. You don't have to be that person's cup of tea. You don't have to meet that person's standards. You don't have to engage with that person. You have that choice whether to do or not. But in the concept of that choice, for me, that still made the love conditional. Until I thought about it and looked at it in a different way. The way that we as a society, we individually, we personally can see it and put the power back into it for it to be unconditional is by learning from the best teachers of unconditional love. And do you want to know who I learned was the best teachers of this? Children. Children are the number one, in my opinion, teachers of what and how unconditional love exists. Because, and I will preface this by saying I don't have any children of my own, but I have worked with children, especially when I thought I wanted to be a teacher. So I was definitely in that school environment. I got a crash course of how unconditional love looks like, feels like, and is. Because if you look at how children respond to a lot of the ways in which we as adults engage with them, that we drop the ball, that we take out some of our frustrations easily on them, because unfortunately this society has shaped a way for children to become our proverbial punching bags in a way. It's been socialized, honestly, for them to take a brunt of a lot of the miscomings that we experience. But in experiencing that at our hand, I've noticed how quickly a child forgives you for that. How quickly they may get mad, they may get frustrated, but how literally hours later, some cases, sometimes it could be minutes later, they come right back to you, wanting a hug, wanting a kiss, wanting your affection, wanting your time, telling you they love you. And time again, that's the same cycle they do until innocence is lost, or they, hit puberty. So then now they start to retain their experiences and start to speak their mind and everything. But the innocence gives them this license to really see you, to really understand where your heart is coming from. Like, for instance, I worked as a pre-K teacher, and so babies. And I remember, there were some kids that would get frustrated with me because, they wouldn't follow the instructions or they wouldn't do the work. So then I'll be like, okay, now go to the corner. No, you don't get to play. You don't do all this. And so we'll go back and forth, and they would get mad at me. Oh, I don't like you. I was like, okay, well, back at you, Yeah, I probably should have said that, but just being honest, or I'd be like, oh, well, that's so unfortunate you feel that way, but you still gotta get over there in that corner, and they get mad and stomp. Some of them threw chairs, some of them did that, but it never failed that literally the very next day, it's, oh, hey, Miss A, I love you. And they're running up to me for a hug and and affection, and wanting me to play, or wanting to tell me about their favorite show, or show me their new hair, or that. And it's really like just water under the bridge, and or like that day didn't even happen before. And I noticed that with each grade that I went to, in particular, especially in elementary school. And I just wondered if we were able to apply ourselves in that kind of way, how to really be more patient, really taking the time to apologize and understand where different people are coming from, of how they said, pick your battles, and really just letting things play out as they are. Learning as well to give something space when things get too heated or things get too kind of complicated or get too much. And then coming back to them when you in a space to listen, in a space to play, in this sense, thinking about kids, especially how easily children do it. Like, really think about times where, you fussed at them, you ran at them, you yelled, you're angry, you got all that. And then, you realize you may have took it too far. You realize you may have did, okay, I could have handled that better. And yet your child is right there, your student is right there, this young person is right there, just, okay, I forgive you, or okay, it's okay. Love comes so easy for them. Like, they don't have to question about it, they don't have to think about it, they don't have to, like, it is really just point blank direct, period. And it made me think about when we all approach love, especially as adults, how many times we are stuck in our head about a lot of things, about, well, what if this, or how could we do that, or maybe this won't work because of this, or, oh, I need to do this first because, or this person, they don't do this, so I don't know if I can rock with it. Like, we have all these different expectations, all these different aspects we have to check off first. And I do want to make this clear. I'm not saying, get rid of your standards or get rid of your requirements or anything like that. I'm not saying to get rid of those, but I'm saying to check them and make sure, where are they coming from? Who told you that? What shaped you to have those things in the first place? Because is it coming from a place of protection? Is it coming from a place of, wanting to set a place of respect, wanting to set a pace for listening and understanding? Or is it coming from a place of hurt and a place of fear and a place of control? So I thought that was an interesting concept to start applying and really looking into. And that leads me to the next aspect of self-love, which personally I feel is the most polarized aspect when it comes to love. Because as the popular saying goes, how can you love someone else if you don't love yourself? And not realizing, when you really look at it, that statement is very vague and leaves so much to the imagination, especially in these spaces of self-love and self-care. And while we can be bought and sold so many different images of it, because all of us took this saying and internalized it. And even I can say I'm guilty of that. Because I no longer say this now, but I remember, as recently as early this year, of telling people, my standard of love, or my stand when it came to love, was I wanted somebody who loved me as much as I loved myself. Thinking that my standard was how I love myself. Not realizing that created two problems. One, it created an unrealistic expectation of love that sometimes even I didn't meet. Because what's the bar for loving myself? I can be honest with you, in some ways, in some experience in my life, there were very clear examples I didn't love myself. For instance, there was a point in my life where I didn't know how to be vulnerable or express myself. So instead, I would manipulate emotional situations in order to gain validation, establish some kind of sense of self-worth or even confidence from the guys I was engaging with. Using my own internalized misogyny and sexism, I truly believe that men didn't express themselves or would go that deep within expressing their feelings and all that. And so when we would get into arguments or heated discussions or anything along that lines, I would always use the line of about my needs and how they weren't understanding me and wasn't taking care of my needs and all that. And that would give me the upper hand in the relationship, because typically they didn't. But it took one guy that hit me with the Uno reverse and literally say one time. So once again, we were in this argument going back and forth, and I used the same line, like, you don't understand my needs. You don't know what my needs are. And he says, okay, well, what are your needs? And I went completely silent. Not that, whether he really wanted to know what my needs were or not, but the fact that he asked stumped me. Because up until that point, nobody had asked that. Nobody had done that. Nobody had put literally the mirror to myself for me to answer that question. And the truth was, I didn't even know what my needs were. I was just saying that because I didn't allow myself to define what that was, to shape what that was. And wondering why I was meeting people who are emotionally unavailable. I was meeting people who didn't express their feelings or share themselves or open up. I wasn't doing that. I was seeking things that I needed within myself through other people. That opened the door for too many people to control my own heart. So that was one thing I had to deconstruct and unlearn and understand. But then the other issue was it made me honestly a very one-sided lover. Because I set the standard of what love was to the point where that was the only way I loved whoever came to me. And the problem with that is not everybody is receptive or receive love in the same way. So I was scrolling on Substack one day, just going through the different articles, and I came across this one post that talked about how treating people the way you want to be treated actually sets us up for failure. And it goes into detail of the many ways in which that said treatment that we have on ourselves often dictates how we engage with other people. So for instance, going back to the concept of self-love, what we would tell people is, when it comes to really loving your body and loving who you are, to really find different things about yourself to shine on, find your different points, because ultimately your body is just as wonderful as it is. Really kind of uplifting and thinking that we're coming from a genuine place of just this self-acceptance and really looking inward. But imagine telling that to somebody who has lupus, who has fibromyalgia, who has a chronic pain so severe that it's debilitating, and they can't even do daily functions such as walking or getting out of bed. That advice does little to nothing to begin to offer them some kind of help or support, and especially when it comes to love. If I come with the expectation of only giving you the love that I want to receive, only meeting the needs that I wanted to be met, you're left, or whoever I'm doing that to, they're left unhappy. They're left unsatisfied. And that ultimately makes our connection very weak, very destructive, very damaging. Because I'm not taking the time to truly embrace love in all the different ways it can show up and can present itself. And I think we as a society, as a people, as a community tend to do that, especially when it comes to love, especially when it comes to concepts of support and help, because all that's included in love as well, of giving affection and care and just having that responsibility of doing that. Or what love is supposed to really teach us is to take the time to learn how people want to or need to receive love. And that reminds me of the song, one of my favorite songs by Music Soul Child, teach me how to love, show me the way to surrender my heart. I found that song to be so beautiful because he's being vulnerable and asking, like, I'm really into you. I really want to get to know you, but, I want to know, what's the best way to please you? What's the best way to connect with you? What's the best way? But in that as well, I want to share how I need to feel, how I need to be there for you. And in this article, I took with it to understand that the bar, the standard that I set was so incorrect that I had to come from a place of wanting to be open, more open really, in the ways in which love can show up. Love can be present. That if it doesn't show up in a way that I need, that how important it is to also then create spaces for communication and knowledge to be shared and passed through that. Because I think that's also what's missing in the conversations of love, is that we talk about communication and it being important and part of the relationship, but we don't really show that connection it has to love. How do you expect somebody to know what you need if you don't say it? How can you expect somebody to please you if you don't first tell them? The issue with the love that we are manufactured and sold is that it teaches us that the more people engage with us, they automatically know it. The more they're around us, they automatically pick up on that. And that's not always the case, because some people can pick up social cues. There are some people who don't know how to communicate, who don't talk with their words, or maybe they only talk with their actions, or maybe they only talk by doing things, or maybe they talk to you by showing it physically, or maybe they talk about it with showing you through giving you gifts or giving you, like, there's so many different ways in which people show, give, and speak of love. How much are you blocking out? How much are you distracting yourself? How much are you playing and wasting your time when you don't allow yourself to be open to the multiple possibilities and dreams that love can really bring you? And that was Snarky Puppy featuring Shantae Kent with Free Your Dreams. That song is just so beautiful, so encouraging, so uplifting that I had to give you that kind of energy, especially for today's show. Which, back to what I was saying, simply what is real, authentic love and how does it show up? Because I think a lot of times we interchange love for so many different things. Like, for instance, we consistently reduce love to feelings, how we feel, how we express that feeling, how we internalize that feeling. Not saying that, love doesn't include that, but it isn't just the basis of love. Love is more greater than that. There are times, we take care and affection and support and we say that's love. But all those, once again, are in and a part of love. But they're not just it, because care is simply just how you show up, how you perform, where the support is what you give and how you give it. Can that come from a loving place? Absolutely. But also, there are people who use care and support as tools of manipulation, as tools of control, as tools of confusion, because they ultimately do it to get their needs met or to gain power in the dynamic of the relationship or the connection. And that's also another issue that a lot of people tend to confuse love and power. Now, love can be powerful, but power, according to Bell Hooks and her work, is the absence of love. Because, and the only reason I do agree with that is because when you look at the concept of power, power typically tends to focus on a couple or maybe one particular aspect of yourself and pushes that to the forefront as your motivation, as your drive, as your importance for existing and wanting more and more and more. Like, for instance, it can be like, people who are career driven. So they're power driven by their career, or wanting a position, or wanting a certain status, or wanting to reach a certain goal. And that becomes what all that is for you. But then you wonder why so many people are struggling with identity, or struggling with why when they reach these goals, or why they get these positions, that some of them feel, unsatisfied, or constantly wanting to keep going and wanting more, because they're still trying to satisfy this thing of power, because that's why they have to keep getting more and more and more of it. Whereas love connects every aspect of you, even the parts that are dark, even the parts that are confusing, even the parts that maybe you don't ultimately think are important to notice or be a part. Love takes all those different aspects and shows you that you in your fullness is enough. It's enough to exist. It's enough to thrive. It's enough to grow. And what's also very beautiful about that is it makes you able to see that in other people and push other people to do that for themselves as well. So it becomes this beautiful connection of understanding, of communication, of responsibility, of care, of affection. And that's how all those things become one. And that's why Bell Hooks defines it as, this care of a spiritual well-being of other people, because it does show a full connection, regardless of what you believe in, of how we can relate to one another and relate to the world that we live in and relate to the earth that we're living on. But in order to get to that point, you have to start to begin to ask yourself those very important questions of, why do you look at love the way you do? What gave you that understanding? What ways in which you internalize certain things that were either commercialized, that were either through capitalism, either through self-hate, either through manipulation or hurt or trauma, because all those different things also impact the ways in which we learn, experience, shape our identity of love that we unfortunately normalize to the point we don't think to question it. But love allows us the space to do that. Allows us the space to reach for something greater in that. And that's how it becomes this transformative force and this powerful movement. In understanding about loving yourself, there is this inkling or this indication that you're unworthy of receiving love while you're going through this process, or that you can't receive love until you finish or until you start and all that. And the truth of that is that you're worthy right now, wherever you are. If you don't remember anything else of this podcast, I want to tell you, you are worthy, deserving, and will receive love as you are, wherever you are right now. And if you haven't heard it today, I love you. Okay? So on that note, y'all, of course, if you want to connect with me, I am on all social medias. For Facebook.com is Queen Lady AC. For Instagram and Threads, it is _I am Lady AC. For Substack, it is Lady AC. And last, on Twitter and X, it is I am Lady AC. So until next week, y'all, I'm going to continue my love journey, and I hope that you continue yours as well. And you never know, maybe romantic love is on the horizon. I'm putting it out there. I'm manifesting it. But regardless, I'm also just welcoming for love in general. And I hope the same for you. So, see you next week. Bye.